started like any other night. I had the TV on low volume, some random late-night show playing in the background. The kind of noise you don't even listen to, just something to fill the silence. I was stretched out on the couch, half awake, half drifting, letting the flicker of the screen wash over the room. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. At some point, my eyes grew heavy. The show blurred, the voices became distant, like they were coming from underwater. I didn't even remember falling asleep, but I did remember waking up, because the sound was wrong. A sharp, static hiss cut through the darkness, loud enough to make my body jerk awake. The TV screen had turned into a snowstorm of white and black, the static pulsing like it had a heartbeat. For a moment, I just stared at it. My throat felt dry. My skin prickled. I sat up slowly, rubbing my eyes, telling myself it was just the signal cutting out. Maybe the channel ended. Maybe the storm outside was messing with it. Still, I didn't like the way it sounded. It felt closer than sound should feel. I stood up and walked toward the TV. The static grew louder with every step, as if it could sense me approaching. The light from the screen painted my living room in pale flashes, turning the furniture into sharp shapes. I reached for the power button, and right before the screen went black, I thought I saw a face. A pale face, smiling. It was only there for a fraction of a second, like an image hidden between frames. But it was enough to make my stomach twist. The TV went dark. The room fell silent. I stood there, staring at my reflection in the black screen. My own face stared back at me, tired and pale. Or at least, I thought it was mine. I turned away quickly and went to bed. But sleep didn't come. I lay there in the darkness, listening to the sounds of the building. Pipes clicking, a distant car passing. The faint buzz of electricity in the walls. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile again. Then I heard it, the static, not faint, not distant. The TV was on again. I sat up so fast my head spun. The sound came from the living room, filling the apartment like an infection. I stepped into the hallway, heart pounding. I'm already angry at myself for being scared of something so stupid. But when I reached the living room, the TV was off, the screen was black, the static sound was gone. I stood there confused, breathing hard. Then I saw the reflection. In the black glass of the TV, a face stared back at me. Not mine. It was too smooth, too pale. The eyes were wrong, too wide, too bright, like they were open in a way human eyes shouldn't be. And the smile was stretched, not joyful, not friendly. It was the smile of something that knew I was trapped. My body froze. I tried to step back, but my feet wouldn't move. My hands trembled at my sides as the reflection tilted its head slightly as if studying me. Then it smiled wider. I reached behind the TV, yanked the power cable from the wall, and held it in my hand like that would save me. The screen stayed lit, not with light, just with presence. The face remained. The room was silent, but I could hear it speaking, not through sound, through my mind. A voice slipped into my head like cold fingers pushing into soft tissue. "You saw me," I stumbled back, shaking my head violently. "No," I whispered. No. The voice didn't stop. It didn't echo. It didn't fade. It was inside me now. "You woke up. You looked. You invited me." I clutched my head, trying to force the thoughts away, but it felt like my own brain was turning against me. My body began to move without permission, like invisible strings were tightening around my arms and legs. My feet carried me backward, away from the TV, toward the kitchen. I tried to fight it. I grabbed the wall, dug my nails into the paint, desperate to stop myself. My muscles trembled as I resisted, but my hands peeled away anyway, step by step. The voice grew softer now, almost comforting. It's okay. You won't be alone anymore. I reached the kitchen. My hand opened a drawer. I didn't want to, but it did. The metal sound of utensils clinking echoed like a bell in a church. My fingers wrapped around something cold and sharp. A knife. My breathing turned into choking gasps. Tears blurred my vision. No, I begged. Please, please. But the voice wasn't asking, it was guiding. My arm lifted slowly, the knife shaking in my grip. My body moved like a puppet being played for someone else's amusement. I felt my face twist into a smile. Not because I wanted to, because it wanted to. And in the reflection of the dark TV screen, I saw myself walking toward it, while the face in the glass smiled back at me like it had finally stepped out of hiding. The last thought I had before everything went quiet was simple. I'm not alone in my head anymore. The next day, they found me on the living room floor, cold, still. The TV was off. The police said it was an open and shut case, a tragedy, a breakdown, something that happened when a person was alone too long. But one officer noticed something strange. The power cable to the TV was lying beside the screen, unplugged. He had only been in the city for 3 weeks when he found the TV. The city was everything he expected. Too loud, too fast, too crowded. Buildings rose like concrete cliffs, blocking the sky. Sirens became background noise. People walked past each other without looking up. Faces blank, eyes fixed ahead like they were all following invisible schedules. But he liked it. He liked the feeling of starting over. A new job, a new apartment, a new life where no one knew his past. His place wasn't much. 1 bedroom, a narrow kitchen, a living room that felt like it had been squeezed into the building as an afterthought. Still, it was his. And for the first time in a long time, he felt proud. Now, that's why he noticed the TV. It sat on the sidewalk outside an apartment building not far from his own. A large flat screen, surprisingly clean, resting upright beside a pile of furniture and garbage bags. 2 men were standing nearby carrying boxes down the steps. One of them was smoking, laughing about something the other had said. He stopped, staring at the screen. It looked expensive. Too expensive to just throw away. "Hey," he called out, pointing at it. "You guys getting rid of that?" One of the men looked at him, then at the TV, and smiled. "You want it?" he asked. "How much?" The man laughed, a short, sharp laugh that didn't quite sound amused. "You can have it," he said. "Take it if you want." The other man snorted and shook his head like he'd heard the best joke of the day. "Yeah," the first guy added. "Some guy won't be needing it anymore." They both laughed again. The kind of laughter that doesn't reach the eyes. He hesitated, but the temptation was too strong. A free TV in the city felt like winning the lottery, so he took it. He carried it upstairs, sweating by the time he reached his floor. His arms ached. His hands shook from the weight. But when he set it down in his living room, it felt like the apartment instantly looked better, more complete. He plugged it in. It worked perfectly. The screen lit up crisp and bright, sound clear, no flickering. He smiled to himself. He even laughed quietly. The city hadn't beaten him yet. For the first week, everything was normal. He watched movies, sports, late-night shows. He'd fall asleep with the TV still on, waking up with his neck stiff and the remote buried under the couch cushion. Nothing strange happened. Nothing at all, until the 8th night. He fell asleep on the couch like always, one arm hanging off the side, the TV murmuring softly in the background. Then the sound changed. Static, sudden and violent. Not the faint static of a bad channel. This was loud, aggressive, hissing like the television was screaming. It jolted him awake so hard his heart started pounding before he even opened his eyes. He sat up. The screen was a storm of black and white snow. The static was unbearable, like it was pressing into his skull. He stood up, annoyed, and walked toward it. As his hand reached for the power button, something flickered on the screen. A face, pale, smiling. Not a normal smile. A wide, stretched grin that looked too sharp around the edges, like it didn't belong on a human mouth. The eyes were dark and unblinking, staring directly at him through the static. He froze. For a second, he stood there, staring, unsure if exhaustion was playing tricks on him. Then the face twitched, just slightly, like it was reacting to his fear. He snapped out of it and turned the TV off. The screen went black. Silence flooded the room. He stood there breathing hard, staring at his reflection in the dark screen. His face looked pale, his eyes wide, his mouth slightly open. He shook his head and laughed nervously. "Okay," he whispered. "Enough." He went to the bathroom, splashed water on his face, stared at himself in the mirror. He looked tired, overworked, stressed. He told himself that's all it was. When he returned to the living room, he didn't even hesitate. He reached behind the TV and unplugged it completely. Then he grabbed it by the sides, dragged it across the floor, opened his apartment door, and shoved it outside into the hallway. He locked the door behind it. Then he went to bed. He slept like a man who believed he'd fixed the problem. Until the sound woke him again. Static. Louder than before. So loud it vibrated through the walls. His eyes flew open. His body went cold instantly. For a moment, he didn't move. He just listened, trying to convince himself it was coming from another apartment. But deep down, he already knew. He got out of bed and stepped into the hallway. The static wasn't coming from outside, it was coming from inside his apartment. His throat tightened. He walked to the living room and stopped. The TV was back, standing exactly where it had been before, plugged in, on. The screen full of static, hissing like an angry whisper. His stomach dropped so hard he felt nauseous. He didn't remember bringing it back in. He hadn't unlocked the door. He hadn't touched it. His hands shook as he stepped closer. He reached out and pressed the power button. The TV turned off, but the face remained, still there, in the black screen, smiling. He stumbled backward. His breath came out in short, panicked bursts. He tried to speak, but his voice wouldn't form words. The face moved. Not like a video, not like a reflection. Like something behind the glass was pressing closer. The room was silent, but he heard a voice. Not from the TV speaker. Inside his head. "You took it." His hands flew to his ears like that would help. "No," he whispered. "No, I didn't mean... You invited me." The voice wasn't angry. It sounded pleased. Like a thing that had been hungry for a long time and finally tasted food again. He backed away, but his body felt heavy, sluggish, like his muscles weren't listening properly. His heartbeat sounded distant, muffled. Then his feet began to move. Not by choice, one step, then another. He fought it, grabbing the edge of the couch, trying to anchor himself. His nails dug into fabric, tearing it. His body trembled violently, but he couldn't stop. The voice in his head became softer now, comforting. "Don't fight. It hurts more when you fight." Tears filled his eyes. His legs carried him into the kitchen. He tried to scream, but his throat locked up. His hand opened a drawer. The sound of utensils clinking echoed in the quiet apartment like church bells. His fingers wrapped around something cold, sharp, a knife. His arm lifted, shaking. He tried to force it down, tried to drop it, tried to throw it across the room, but the hand didn't belong to him anymore. The face in the dark TV screen smiled wider, as if it could feel the moment he gave up. The last thing he felt was the cold spreading through him. Not pain, not fear, just emptiness. Like something was drinking him from the inside out. The next morning, his neighbor noticed the smell. A strange metallic odor seeping into the hallway. When police arrived, they found him lying on the living room floor, cold, stiff, his eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. His face was unrecognizable, not because of violence, but because of what was missing. His skin looked gray. His mouth hung open like his soul had been pulled out through it. Like the person he used to be had been drained. The TV sat quietly against the wall, unplugged. The power cable lay beside it. The screen was black. But when the neighbor later described what he saw before the police arrived, his voice shook. He said the TV wasn't on, but he swore there was a face in the glass, smiling.